that pressure pretty heavily, and it makes it very difficult to interact when you're playing a shorter range carry. So there's potential for that. But we'll see if that actually comes through. That Lee Sin first pick, really common just with the flexibility available to the champion and being able to go through multiple roles, and they will actually lock that Aphelios in.
Yeah, so a lot of long range damage already, assuming Aphelios has the Calibrum available at the time. I am surprised to see that as a combo specifically, but comfortable for Cube to just go for the Jayce blind. Now, there's a lot of Season 11 available, right? Viego there. I'm going to make the assumption that the Gwen was the other ban for RNG, and Cryin goes with that signature pick in the Twisted Fate.
Yeah, and it's no big surprise. Often what we see RNG doing is leaning towards the side lanes, already have that set up, and it has the stun to allow way on this Lee Sin to follow up in terms of pressure. We assume it's going to be that Viego in the top lane, and it's not a big surprise to see the Thresh come in. Often, if possible, when you see Aphelios, expect the Thresh has that safety net, and we talked before about the strength in those team fights, and RA are leaning towards that. By having the Aphelios Thresh, your intra composition, who so far for RNG is pretty short ranged, you're already in a good position to deal with a lot of their threats. And I think on the back of that, RNG are looking to snowball. You know, you have a TF, you want to accelerate the game.
Now, I want to quickly talk about statistics for these players for a second while we get the second round of bans on in. Now, this Lee Sin that we can see potentially going up to the top side. Xiaohu's played Lee Sin 6 times this splits, his most played champion. He's only won 1 of those games so far, Dan. Even though mechanically his Lee Sin has looked good, just across the course of this split, the pick hasn't really worked out for RNG in the top side, so we could see that going to the mid lane. We could even see that in the jungle and the Viego go top. Obviously not the mid lane with the TF there. Support's been banned away by RA, and now jungler's taken off the board by the side of RNG.
Yeah, the pool thinned quite a bit for Leyan in this situation. Often, you know, you want to have that early pressure. We look at all the plays he's been making, going proactive. So having something that can challenge in the early levels is pretty important, and a lot of those that can sort of go head to head with the Lee Sin or potentially the Viego are thinned out, and he's actually going to go for the Nocturne. So even more so, this is looking like a pretty less active sort of lineup for the side of RA. Leyan not on something they can really be as aggressive with, but when it comes to those team fights in a solid spot, RNG going to take the Ezreal into the Aphelios. Not a sort of amazing matchup. The Aphelios is going to have that priority, going to be able to shove you in, but is going to be a pretty relevant threat in the mid game.
Yeah, so a lot of AD on the side of RA so far. They need to finish things out with something that's AP heavy here. For the side of RNG, they're going to go for a support. Looks like a Rakan, getting some hard engage for Ming to be the playmaker. And look at the pick potential with a Twisted Fate and with a Rakan combined. You're going to have some massive ability to just jump on someone and one-shot them straight off the bat. Get that CC chain going. Now to RA. Because right now they're hovering at Galio, perhaps just wanting to get something where FoFo can get roaming out of that mid lane and match Cryin.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the picks being hovered. There was the Galio, there was the Silas. Silas obviously be able to steal the TF ult in that situation. The Rise as well with the Realm Warp. They know that an important thing here is maintaining priority, shutting down the plays from Cryin on the map. And when I look at the composition for RNG, you have a really safe bot lane, right? Both of them very mobile, very easily can get away. And what we often see from RNG is attention put up top towards Xiaohu. You have this Viego, which is incredibly snowbally. You have a TF, so I fully expect to see RNG leaning up towards that side. And I think for Rare Adam, if they didn't have the tools to match that, they would be in a bit of a difficult spot. And Nocturne, obviously, not as big of a factor until 6. Galio will help to shore up some of the issues there. And then once it does get to that point where they're looking in team fights, having the Nocturne flying with the Galio on top is super powerful and hard to deal with.
Now we have to mention that while FoFo is not exactly known for Galio, this is not really a FoFo style champion. This is not the first time he's played at this split. Played it once before, they won with it, ended up with a 13 KDA off the back of that game, so pretty solid performance coming out from FoFo on that pick. But I do want to reiterate, this is not the style that we are used to. When we talked about these mid laners going head to head before the draft, we said how it was likely to be FoFo dominating the laning phase and Cryin trying to get out of the lane and roam around the map. But what we're actually seeing from this draft is that we are going to have a very similar win condition for both of these mid laners, and it could mean that stylistically these teams kind of match up a little bit better. But let's talk holistically. Let's talk about these compositions. What are you expecting here from RNG? You said before that you want them to be setting the pace. Do you think that this is a composition that can do that?
I think they can. I think you're looking for topside leans. I think the fact that it's this Nocturne and you're playing against a Lee Sin, it's very hard for a Nocturne to duel a Lee Sin, not in terms of the mechanics, but in terms of if Lee Sin wins, he wins. If he doesn't win, it's very hard for the Nocturne to catch him, right? You can just safeguard away. There's no dash for the Nocturne to follow. So it's kind of a situation where Wei can always pick a favorable fight or just opt out of it. And on the back of that, I think you should have a strong mid-jungle 2v2, and then you lean that up top side and you play for this Viego. Your bot lane should mostly be safe. I think for Rare Adam, play for your level 6, and once you get that point, you should be a lot more comfortable to contest on the map. If it goes late, you have an Aphelios, you have a Thresh, you're feeling strong.
Hang on, iBoy's in trouble. There's a flash forward, one more auto. Gala's got first blood before the game has even properly begun. Ming finds another knockup. Cryin is here. I don't think they can finish off onto Hung as well. Well, Dan, we've got to start our game already, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, they are not going, they're not holding back on this one. RNG, we get to see the replay. Face checking essentially in on this brush, and then just iBoy taking a bunch of damage and eating the knockup as well. Not sure what the game plan was. I think they were hoping to maybe see Gala and Ming face check into them after giving a leash and then able to get an advantage off the back of that. But yeah, burning both summoners on iBoy, it's not as problematic simply because you have a Thresh with a Lantern, but definitely not how you want to start this game. And it does mean that Gala will have a little bit of an advantage as he was the one who picked up that kill.
Yeah, not ideal. Not ideal. And Gala getting himself first blood, he'll be over the moon with that one. Because guess what? He's now been able to start his lane with a tier and a longsword. He literally has his cake and is eating it too. This is the perfect start if you're an Ezreal. You get your mana regen, but you also get a bit of lane presence with that AD. So really, really good start for the side of RNG. And, you know, Hung getting the kill, not really going to be that impactful. Just gets his basic boots.
Yeah, plus iBoy actually started longsword and I believe 2 pots and actually ended up using one of those pots in the earlier trade. So again, really not a great start for him, but it happens. What can you do? At least there was the trade back from Hung, so they got a little bit of gold in return. And we're kind of just seeing things pan out from there. We do see Wei pathing bot towards the top side, which is kind of what we expect. You know, they have Xiaohu finding this priority in the top lane. It's a lane they want to play towards. They know they don't get prior bot, and they're kind of just happy sort of leaving it as is. The interesting one is Leyan's actually in a similar position here. And I feel like, you know, you're not in the best position to contest necessarily because Xiaohu can just move down and look to help fight you off the scuttle.
Yeah,
but this is Leyan.
We
doesn't
talked
really care about
this. He really doesn't mind about Prio. He's going to start this one off. Did have Prio in the mid lane, but Cryin moving towards the play. We could have a 2v2 on our hands here, down, but Xiaohu moving over. Leyan, you got to respect it this time, surely. With Xiaohu here, there's no way that Leyan could fight for this crab. Can he? Maybe he's going to go for it anyway. Looking onto Wei. Jumps away with a ward hop. FoFo dodged by the flash here. Scuttle Crab goes down. Leyan gets it. This time he's got help from his laners, and he's trying to chase onto Wei here, but the wild card's out from Cryin, pushing people away. The flash gold card in, they go onto Cupid, he survives, triple taunt comes in, but it's going to be Wei to go down alongside FoFo. Chaotic 2v2 as Xiaohu trying to get away. Cryin gets another kill though, and the double buff's in his pocket. Xiaohu low on HP, Leyan, he's on Nocturne in the early game, he's cutting through them like a blender, and grabs himself the double.
And it ends up working for Leyan. You know, he didn't initially have the assistance from his top laner. They're able to get the scuttle, but then they buy time. It ends up being that full 3v3, and the flashes were critical there in this situation. So we see RNG trying to approach this one slowly. This is actually a really nice play from Cryin as well with this flash gold card. He goes for Cube, and then Leyan also spell shields and gets it. But this flash from Cube, avoiding the Sonic Wave, means he survives a bit too long and is able to turn things around. The Viego gets a fair bit of value with that reset, but it's just not quite enough. And the Nocturne, in this close-range skirmish, where everyone's in melee range, you're getting so much value. And now Leyan able not only to get that scuttle, he also gets the bot scuttle, and he's 2-0 on the Nocturne already. This is fantastic for RA.
It really is. And RNG, I think, anticipating that RA would play according to the rules as RNG knows them. But as we said before, RA don't necessarily respect priority like other teams. They are willing to go for these plays, and it's worked out beautifully. Cube, like you said, with a great flash there, and I think that setup denying way that initial kill onto him really turned the play in the favor of RA, and now they have some serious advantages to work with. And once again, if FoFo can continuously stop Cryin being separated, stop him going and making these individual plays, take over the game. Hung is waiting in the wings in this mid lane here. Does have flash available if he wants to make the play, but just going to drop a ward and back away.
That's the thing, is Cryin flashed us off the back of that skirmish, so potentially going to be a vulnerability if we do see any sort of ganks come up towards that mid lane. Something to note as well is that Nocturnes will run an Ultimate Hunter, and Leyan just got 3 stacks of that. So when he does get that paranoia, it's going to be already an even shorter cooldown. And the kind of the weaker point for this RA lineup was pre-6, right? That was where there was a little bit of concern about the fact that Nocturne wouldn't be able to match the Lee Sin in terms of pressure, but that massive sort of advantage they found means Leyan's pretty close to that 6 point. But we do see Cryin also at level 6 fishing for something on the top side, but Cube will just thin out the wave and they won't really be able to find anything off the back of it.
And guess what? RA on the bottom side of the map are like, okay, time to do a Drake. And we were chatting to Nelson on the podcast the other day, and one of the things that he mentioned was that when it comes to Drakes, if there's a Cloud Drake early, it means you can go for it. Hang on, Cube's in trouble here. He stepped up to the wave. He's going to be caught out. There's a Heartbreaker and an easy kill for Wei. Wei being very patient to make that play happen. The Drake traded, but it's going to be some plates on the top side.
Yeah, we'll be able to get some on the bot lane. You can see iBoy and Hang having a really good time in this bot lane, even with that little bit rough level 1 start. And it's kind of what we expected, though. RNG leaning that pressure top, but with the early setback they had, it has kind of made things slower than you'd hope for otherwise. And now this is engaged.
Oh, dive in the mid lane straight onto Cryin, and he is just bumped by FoFo on the Galio. The Ignite isn't quite enough to finish off Leyan either. It's plates galore across the map here as a knockup is denied. Get wrecked, Ming. Hung just hungs him out to dry.
Beautiful play coming out from the Thresh there. FoFo might be in trouble, though.
Oh my goodness. A double taunt out from FoFo here. Can't find a knockup, though. Can't find the dash to get away. And it's going to be Xiaohu grabbing a kill in that mid lane.
I remember when we were talking for the series, Joe, and we're like, you know, maybe this could be a slower start of the game. These teams have decided not to abide by that. Pure aggression has been coming out, and RNG, they're trying to make things happen, but I think it was a great play from Rare Adam on that first engage mid. You know Cryin is flashless, you know the TF has no mobility to get away.
Oh no, Gala. Oh, had plans. He's okay for now. Ming gets the knockup. Hung flashes away from the True Shot barrage. Nothing comes of it, just a couple of summoners burn.
Oh, we've seen RA now looking for a topside lean, but I think it's kind of hard to pick off Xiaohu. But yeah, I mean, it's a great first use of the ult from the Nocturne on the TF who has no flash. You target the lane who wants to be roaming, so it's not like he's going to be able to assist himself. It's kind of just forced into that 2v1 scenario. And as I said before, Ultimate Hunter on the Nocturne already had those 3 sort of stacks on it early. His ult's back up now, ready to use once again. You have the Galio to stand by, and we'll see a replay of that bot lane play, and it is just super nice from Hung in this situation. The root actually from iBoy is what catches out the Rakan, and then the hook into the Flay follow-up means that the Rakan just can't do anything, and that's a critical thing. That's the vulnerability of Rakan, is you're super mobile, but you're also very squishy. If you get caught by CC, and speaking of CC...
Yeah, Xiaohu's in trouble again. Heartbreaker to try and buy himself some space. Actually flashes away, gets the W. Now he's got a teammate coming on over, but FoFo's here first. Cryin TP's into the play as well. Wei dodges away from the knockup. RNG are too damn clean with their movement. Look at this. Can they actually get away with all of their people? That is insane from RNG.
Just managed to slip out, and honestly, I mean, RA committing the paranoia in that situation, having 4 members topside and missing out. Not ideal. That's given RNG a window to take this Herald. The ults being down from Rare Adam just means they're really not in a position to contest this one, so RNG kind of really slipping away on that and then getting a pretty significant reward for it. And when you already have that 1,000 gold deficit, it's definitely a lot of value there.
Honestly, RA just getting their ankles broken in that one. Like, I saw them going in. There was 3 people. Xiaohu's going the wrong way on the map, but I was like, okay, this one's done and dusted. There's no way Xiaohu gets away with this, right? But I feel like I say that every single game. I feel like every time you watch RNG, you think that a play is foregone, but Xiaohu makes something magical happen. This man, he is just unstoppable in the top lane.
And particularly on a champion like Viego, where you have that slipperiness and also that potential to carry a fight so incredibly hard if you can start getting the resets. They put a lot of eggs into the Xiaohu basket this game. That was the game plan. Lean top, have this safe bot side. And he is a player you can rely on for that. He is a player that you can trust to carry a game for you on the back of a 2021 champion like Viego.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even when he's not on the 2021 champion, still an exceptional player. But I will say, Viego and Gwen, 2 of his most played, and I think for good reason, because they are
they're pretty good.
In a reasonably strong spot right now.
I would agree with that assessment. Those champions are kind of strong, we'll say.
Okay,
we'll leave it at that now. RNG again fishing
Herald
up towards that top side.
Yeah, he's got Herald. There's a TP coming out from Cryin. Here we go. Cube's in trouble. To the skies off the wave, trying to buy himself some space, but it ain't happening. Wade picks up the kill here. And these dives, we see it all the time from RNG, are just so perfectly executed every single time. But here we go. All right, answering in the mid lane. Maybe trying to race to the first tower. I don't think there's any way that they outrace a Herald here, but at least they'll get some plates.
Yeah, they should be able to get it pretty low, and being the mid lane tier 1 is quite valuable. Oh, Leyan!
Oh, flash from Cryin, the follow-up from Ming. They're going to get out to Leyan. That's a huge shutdown as well. Ming takes it. A huge chunk of gold into his pocket. Tower taken. Xiaohu getting a lot of that gold. They can get a second charge here. They can get onto the tier 2 tower, and they might just be able to finish this one off. Cube is here. Slam comes in from the Herald. It is going to be the tier 2 taken.
And that is a lot of gold coming in. Obviously, RA getting that mid-tier 1 low is valuable, don't get me wrong. But losing Leyan on that play, losing your top lane tier 1 and tier 2, definitely RNG favored. And you see their game plan of playing towards top has paid off in this situation. Substantial lead now for Xiaohu over Cube. 1,800 gold there. And despite Leyan's early success in the Nocturne, we now see the Lee Sin ahead again. So this is all in RNG's game plan. And now they can head down towards the boss side of the map. They can play for this dragon and look to contest pretty heavily on the back of this. You can see Xiaohu already there. They don't care about top lane. They pushed the wave in deep. Cube has to answer, so they put all their resources into this side of the map. And RA, there is just no way they can contest them right now.
iBoy doesn't know that the rest of the gang is here just yet, but he will now. Lantern comes in. The team dives on, but great escape there from RA. Good flash from iBoy to keep himself safe. And RNG trying to make the play happen. And without those picks, suddenly this Drake doesn't look so easy to contest.
Yeah, I think, you know, if they'd gotten a kill there, definitely could have just moved straight onto it. But a big thing is they had that window we were talking about where Cube was answering the wave. If you look top, it's now being pushed into the tower. Xiaohu needs to make his way quickly to answer that one. Otherwise, he'll be missing a fair bit of farm and also potentially losing that plate. But Cube, he knows to respect the pressure from the other side. He will just back away. And Xiaohu's there to collect the wave. But still, I like the play. I like the fact that they use that pressure that Xiaohu has when he pushes the wave in deep. Especially when you have a tier 2 as early as this. You can push the wave really, really deep and then look to rotate. Because you bought yourself some time. Typically, early in the lane, you have a limited space in which to use and which to move. Because you can push a wave in, but it's not going to be that long before you have to move back. And this is kind of a bit of an extended window now. FoFo and Ming just going to walk past each other. You can see that RNG have switched to the other side. They sacrificed that dragon. Gala's kind of alone on the bot side of the map, and now they are playing aggressive around this red buff.
And we've seen RNG play aggressive plenty of times on this top side before. iBoy finishes the tower on the bottom side of the map. Feels like we have two completely different sets of priorities for our two teams here. RNG playing to the top side. They've already got both towers there. They've managed to get themselves heralds as well, or at least a herald so far. Whereas RA finishing that bot tower now with 2 Drakes already. And potentially a dive onto Gala. Leyan does have that paranoia available, but it's going to be difficult to get any CC to connect onto this Ezreal. Oh, actually,
yeah, I think you just play it slow. you're happy to push the wave in and then back away. And honestly, considering RNG getting those 2 towers top lane, RA is still in a pretty decent position overall. They got a fair bit of gold on the iBoy for getting that bot lane tier 1, so he's in a pretty strong spot, has that Kraken Slayer already. And other than the fact that Xiaohu is just a pretty big threat, I think RA are fairly comfortable. But 2 dragons in pocket, and that's a big talking point because it's an Infernal Soul, super valuable in any game. But especially in one like this where you have so many carries on both sides, you'll be able to get a lot of value out of that. And with that next dragon, I'm expecting a fight to come out. And I think the critical thing for RNG is looking for a pick prior to that dragon. If you can find an angle where you can, take someone out before the fight even starts, you definitely put yourself in an advantageous position. Because I think at the 5v5, it's still pretty scary going up against the likes of RA.
I want to quickly revisit something I tried to talk about before when it comes to those drakes, as RNG will start off this Herald here. And that's that the first drake was a Cloud Drake. And that is a great signal to whichever team has the stronger early game composition to start stacking drakes, because the soul is going to be good. If Cloud is out of the way early, all 3 of the other souls are souls that you can win the game off the back of. Xiaohu using a Heartbreaker very early here, pulled in with the hook, paranoia, the taunt comes in. Everything lands onto Xiaohu. He doesn't even get a chance to flash on that one. Very nice pickup for RA. RNG trying to answer in the mid lane here, dropping this Herald down, but it feels like RA should be able to respond, but perhaps not, as Leyan staying on the bottom side of the map here. This will be the Herald taking the mid-tier 1 tower. RNG lose a player and get a tower off of it. There's not many teams that can pull that off.
I think it's just the power of the Herald. You already have that tower relatively low, and I think here's the big thing with RA is they are very ult reliant. With Paranoia on cooldown, they're not really in a position where they can do much to punish. So essentially RA happy with that kill, but it's just expected outcome with that Herald. You throw it mid, pick that up, gives you that value. And I actually want to take a look at the items leading up to this next dragon fight, because Hung has actually prioritized the Mikhails very early as a rush. And against the likes of a TF, against the likes of a Rakan with that quickness, it's going to have a ton of value in the situation and going to be able to essentially free up his team to be more aggressive in these fights and not be as shut down by CC.
And it feels like that's so crucial when you have iBoy as this Aphelios with a 1,000 gold lead individually right now over Gala. Thanks to all those plates, thanks to the CS lead as well. iBoy is going to be monstrously huge as we head towards this mid-game. We've got 1 minute and 15 until that Drake is up. And importantly, iBoy has that Hurricane alongside his Kraken Slayer. So this Aphelios has hit that point where he exists in these fights, will be doing that true damage, will be able to do a lot of work in the skirmishes. Leyan going for his blue buff here. Hung toying with the idea of a hook, but Wade dodges it. And the vision ward will be cleared by RNG, but Leyan moving into the river here. It feels like RA really want control of this area.
Yeah, they're trying to contest this one. They have Galio moving over. You can see RNG doing a good job setting up that top wave to push with Cryin, and now he'll move down. And the critical thing here is iBoy just had his flashback up. That's going to help him survive a lot more. RA's ideal fight is, using the power of the Nocturne and the Galio, those ults having so much value, and iBoy just able to free hit. But for RNG, they need kills. And I mean that in the sense that if they start getting resets, Xiaohu can take over this fight. So it doesn't matter who. Obviously, ideally, it's iBoy. But if you take down a single target, you'll start to find momentum. You'll start to find resets for this Viego, and that's where RNG will really find favor in this fight.
I just want to quickly point out before the fight starts, Gala only has the one item. He does not do much damage right now. As both teams posturing for a full 5v5, it's here for the third Drake as Xiaohu tries to move in, but Leyan just dives onto the enemy team. It's a big Galio ult. As RA have to back away here. RNG have held the line, and now it's time for the re-engage. They jump forward themselves. It's way on the front line here. Moonlight Vigil goes wide. RA staying clustered together, working as a team to survive here. Xiaohu blast plant into the play and takes out Leyan. And now RA in full retreat. They have lost the Drake.
I mean, they just can't find the initial engage. This is a problem with diving in onto this team of RNG. only Cryin is an easy target for Nocturne. Everyone else is a little bit too slippery to pin down immediately, especially if they have summoners. And we can see what happens here. So Leyan flies in and everyone just disengages. He gets bursted down pretty heavily with that stun card as well, and he has to back away. This is now some massive tools unavailable to RA, and RNG are feeling confident. They start to chunk people out. This stun card from Cryin chunks iBoy, and then the critical thing is that Xiaohu gets a reset. They commit onto Leyan and then flash over to finish him off. And at this point, RA know, right, we've got a reset from the Viego. There's no way we continue this. We have to back away and just concede the dragon. And ultimately, they are the team with the 2 dragons first, so it's not as big of a deal, them losing on that dragon, but it's definitely not a good thing to happen. You'd love to be able to secure that 3rd and put the threat of the soul there.
They would have loved to have that Infernal trick, and importantly, let's just toy with the idea for a second and realize that RNG, if they got a soul this game, it would be a quad Infernal soul. That is maybe the most terrifying combination of drakes available. And you can look at the top lane difference between players right now. It is very heavily in favor of Xiaohu. He has a 2,000 gold lead individually. He's finished his Blade of the Rune King, as well as his Divine Sunderer, as well as his boots, and then he's bought a stopwatch on top of that. So in this next fight, and Baron is on the card, so we could have a fight, Xiaohu is the guy to keep your eyes on because he can take over.
Absolutely, and I think all you need is a little bit of momentum. You know, if you use the quickness, the Dragon's Rage, the stun card from Cryin, which he already has that rapid fire to help find it, one kill can really just mean the fight goes heavily in RNG's favor. And especially at this point in the game, this mid-game spike, we look at Gala. He is really powerful right now. We said like, last fight didn't have the mana immune finished up. It is now available. And realistically, iBoy is kind of playing for 3 to 4 items. Right, 3 items when he gets that Infinity Edge, that's when he really spikes in terms of damage. If he picks it up, then sometimes we do see Aphelios is delaying it though. But normally 3 items is a big damage spike for the champion. But you often need an extra defensive on top of that just to sort of stay alive in these situations. And that's where you can really start to flourish now. Did you see both teams trading off towers in the side, keeping the gold lead pretty close? It's kind of expected, and don't think we'll see too much happening before that next dragon point in 2 minutes 20. We could potentially see a team fishing for a pick in the lead up to it. But for now, we'll see Leyan clearing up some vision on that side of the map. Remember, Baron is now available. Yeah. So if we have like a really bad fight from either side, if one team gets a big advantage in terms of numbers at the back of that, we could see a Baron rush come from this. And also teams need to keep an element of vision alive on that Baron, just in case if they lean too heavily bot side, the enemy team could pick it up.
Yeah, and it's more important for RA as well, because for RA, it's going to be difficult to make a way back in and regain vision, but also for RNG, they always have TFL. Worst case scenario, you just smash R on Cryin, you see where everyone is, no worries. But for the side of RA, it ain't that simple, and you can see them clustering up on the top side here. And you're talking about defensive items for Aphelios. Remember, Hung got that early Mikhail, so there is a sort of pseudo-defensive item there for Aphelios. And perhaps iBoy will be able to stay safe. It looks like he will try and go for the Infinity Edge as the 3rd item with that BF sword instead of delaying it, instead of going for something like the Lord Doms. But now, both teams trying to contest for mid-prio here. It is going to be RNG that win it out, at least for the time being. There is a lot of poke on this side from R8, though. With the Shock Blasts and when Calibrum is available for iBoy, that's going to be a route onto Cryin. They're not going to follow it up. Paranoia is there. Xiaohu uses his stopwatch to buy some time for his team. And now Leyan getting hammered away on by Gala. There's a beautiful kick from Wei. And RNG, they're making this look easy. And with the quickness, but the flight denies the play as the rest of the team jumps underneath the tower. Hung surviving. And RNG don't quite have the damage to take anything more.
You can see RNG feel confident right now. They found that initial pick. They're able to play aggressive into RA, and they just have to respect them. The Paranoia came down, but nothing came off it. And iBoy should just be able to survive on this, but RNG just challenging constantly now and should easily be able to pick up this dragon. That being said, there is a TP available for FoFo to get back in, but I think without the Paranoia, you might have a pretty tricky time.
It's going to be a challenge, but you say that. Paranoia is about a quarter of the way left on its cooldown. Like the ultimate hunter stacks that we talked about earlier on in the game, definitely paying dividends here for RA as they group up and look for the Drake. Remember, this would be sole point if they can get this to the side of RA. For RNG, it'd only be their second Drake, but it would be 2 on the trot here. It'd be 2 back-to-back. RNG grouping up once again, trying to push forward. Keep your eyes on where we get gold cards from Cryin. He's at the back of the formation right now for RNG. RA seem a little nervous to go for this one. Remember, Leyan can paranoia in, and FoFo can follow up with the Galio ult. It's all about RNG trying to kite that combo out. Dragon down to 1,000 HP here. It's going to be taken by Way, and now the fight ensues. It's 1 pick for RNG, and they're kiting this perfectly. FoFo gets stunned up, wildcards through, the lantern denied by wards, and now Cryin is behind enemy lines. Forget Leyan, it's Cryin who's the secret agent. Now a stun card onto iBoy, the taunt is there, and RNG giving us a masterclass on how to play a TF composition here. Hung will fall, and it is 4 for nothing in favor of RNG with a Drake on top.
Massive win there for RNG. You can see exactly how it happens. You get... Oh, they're still looking for more, actually. They might have found Q.
I don't think it's... Surely not. Surely they can't get this. They can. Who am I kidding? It's RNG. Of course they can get this. Another tower on top of that off the back of the pick onto Cube. Cube getting greedy for the wave. And RNG read him like a book.
And it's just beautiful play. It's just them chaining together these kills. They keep getting the resets, and their single target takedown is so good. They have the stun card. They have things like the Lee Sin, who has the mobility to follow. Ezreal can keep up. Rakan can keep up. And these fights are just going so well for them. It kind of feels like RA just doesn't know how to approach things. You know, they want to kite backwards. The Nocturne wants to go in. It's really split in that regard. And we can see the fight opens up here, and Leyan gets hit by the stun card, essentially just obliterated before they can even use that paranoia. And then it's very obvious for RA that they can't finish this fight, but RNG doesn't let them get away. They keep pushing in. They're trying to take down target by target. Cryin comes in on the flank with the ultimate to take down the Galio, and then they just keep pushing forwards. And I think that's the big thing to take away from this, is the value of these repeated gold cards from the TF, and they are now looking for more. iBoy might be in trouble.
Hey, you can't lantern if you just kill the Thresh. It's genius. Instead of killing iBoy, just kill Hug instead, and then take iBoy out of the picture. 2 more picks for RNG, and guess what, Dan? Baron is available with no bot lane for RA. Surely there's no contest.
I mean, honestly, Leyan has ultimate. I mean, maybe just fly him for a steal, but I think he probably is just going to back away on this one. And things are looking pretty doomed, is all I'm going to say off the back of this. It's a significant goal lead for RNG. They now have those 2 dragons in pocket, so they've equalized you in those terms. It is very scary. And we're talking about how the Aphelios is leaning into those later stages to be strong. He's in a bit of a rough spot because he's 3 items, but he's just getting run over. The damage items just aren't really relevant. You just cannot survive against RNG running you down consistently. A GA now for Xiaohu. I think he's going to be pretty close to Sterix after he resets. I think that's where he's staying for that wave top. We have the frozen half of Gala, so he's a very difficult target to take down. We'll actually get a bit of a look at the pro view from Xiaohu on that Viego.
Take another look as he just stealths on forward. Easy combo there. I mean, he did a lot of right-clicking. A lot of right-clicking right there.
Right-click gaming.
I'm not gonna lie, I love that we get pro view replays. That was the most underwhelming pro view replay I think I've ever seen. He just walks at his support and autos them down. Here we go, siege of the mid lane from RNG. That will be the tier 2 taken. That is all 3 tier 2 towers taken off of the board. We're just 28 minutes in here, and RNG have themselves almost a 10,000 gold lead. And they can just keep this up for days now. They have the Baron buff for another minute and 40 seconds. They can just play multiple lanes. And if things go wrong, well, they have global ultimates. They have the Twist of Fate that can always join whoever is in trouble. Now the siege on the bottom side. iBoy desperately trying to clear the wave. There are just too many minions, though. Look at all of these sieged up Baron minions just hammering away on the tower. 2 cannons go in at the time as Leyan moves to the mid lane to try and clear that wave off, but there's just no long-range damage here for RA. Finally, iBoy can step forward and kill those cannons. Well, that's 2/3 of the tower already gone, and RNG, move in to try and get some damage in here. Drake is up in 50 seconds. Cube takes a true shot barrage to the side of the head. iBoy trying to step up. Here we go. The combo comes in once more from RA.
He's disengaged.
And once again, it's kited out by RNG. They're too clean. Xiaohu into GA, though. Maybe this is the window for RA. FoFo in trouble, has to turn golden himself, and now iBoy is dived onto. Out of nowhere, RNG just blow RA off of the map. This will be the inhib taken at minimum, but RNG might look for a little bit more.
Honestly, 3 members up of RA, but without the paranoia, the Nocturne's feeling pretty useless. They're just going to push for more with the TPs coming in.
Double TP, the Nexus Tower is being shattered here. Leyan looking for a way in, but he doesn't have his ultimate. Cube can do nothing but shoot shock blasts at max range. There's a gold card and a kill for Gala to finish things out here as RNG just decimate RA.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, especially considering that early skirmish you saw, which went RA's way, it just didn't even look close on after that. It was just RNG doing what they needed to do. They knew their win condition of the composition so well. You play towards top, you get Xiaohu ahead. They did that, and then every fight from there, it felt like he was a problem that couldn't be dealt with, and the target selection was really good to get him those resets. I think another problem when you look at the composition of RA, it's like, what does this composition want to do, right? Jayce is trying to poke, you know, stay at a distance. You have the Nocturne, Galio is trying to dive in and jump on the backline, but everyone was too mobile. We kept seeing that. They dive in, everyone from RNG just backs off and gets out the Galio world. And then you have the Aphelios and the Thresh who are like, okay, we want you to dive into us. I think it was just such mixed win conditions in the team fight that it was very hard to pull off and find what was successful. And honestly, I think there's a lot of things you could potentially change around the draft here. How relevant was the Jayce? Not really. Not exactly the pick that you want to sort of be punished by 3-man dives consistently. And it was just that divide between the mid jungle and the bot lane in terms of win cons, whereas it was very clear that RNG's comp just, it clicked.
And it felt like, you know, I liked the idea behind the Galio, right? In my mind, that was like protect iBoy, but instead the way it was used in this game was like Leyan and FoFo go in every single fight. And we saw it, I think, 3 times across the game where they pull this combo off, and everyone from RNG just disperses, like you say, and then the fight is basically over. You've used all of your tools at that point. I feel like this composition could have worked if they just played a more defensive style instead of being the ones trying to force the fight every time, because we saw what happened every single time that they forced the fight. RNG outplayed them and won off the back of it. And you can see Gala basically had no threat on him all game long. Aside from the level 1 where he died, he pretty much was just free firing in the majority of these fights.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy with the Nocturne on the other side, but I think, honestly, for me, it's probably the Nocturne pick is a standout as a thing I don't really agree with, because I think there's picks like Gragas, Kindred, maybe even we saw the Graves of it, stuff like that where you can sort of play them and kite backwards. I think the Kindred and the Gragas in particular are the ones that I think about. You would allow the Galio to play that defensive role, sort of AoE taunt. You have the defensive peel, the lockdown. Kindred in particular means you have a second damage threat. I mean, technically with the Jayce, you have 3 damage threats, so really comfortable. And that would make more sense than everyone aligning. I think it was just, they were like, okay, Galio Nocturne's a really good combo. We want to shut down their global pressure, but we just saw that when it came to team fights, it just wasn't really delivering.
A little bit disjointed in the draft here from RA, and it means that RNG are going to take a comfortable game 1 win. And honestly, with a performance like that, RA have got to go back to the drawing board. We'll see what they come up with right after the break.